Hello and welcome back to the Villa Filler podcast. I'm here as always, my good friend Dan Moisman. Dan, Southampton nil, Aston Villa 1. It was a nail-biting 90 minutes to say the least. First of all, mate, how are you doing?
Oh God. Yes, mate. Blimey. Unai Emery's tricky villains are exactly that. We are finding ways to win despite not actually playing very well most of the time, and that's never a bad thing.
No.
Um, it's something that good teams do every now and again. It's something that Villa are doing almost every game. And you know what? It's like if we're winning matches, we can't be too critical. But blimey, we're not doing it the easy way, are we?
No, we're not, man. We're not. But like that's kind of encouraging though, because we can go away to these difficult places like St Mary's where we've historically not had too much luck. And maybe you could say we've left with the rub of the green, but 16 shots on goal, 11 from open play, five from set plays. Obviously, Southampton have the ball in the back of the net twice, which has been ruled off for offside. And then there's the foul on JJ, which I know you feel was maybe a bit of a soft decision. Um, but I think it's completely different if like the whole narrative around this game, and obviously, Villa don't win, obviously the narrative is different. But if this is a nil-nil draw and we come away from this having not having that Ollie Watkins goal, obviously we've been let off with the two goals being disallowed. But then there's also the frustration of the two penalties that weren't given, mate, on Jacob Ramsey. Um, I've seen a lot of chat on social media about, JJ probably didn't look as fit as he has, and obviously he's coming back from that injury. But he got himself in really good positions on multiple occasions. And in my opinion, I think they were both penalties, and especially the first one. JJ had quite clearly got onto the ball before Bazunu decided to take him out. I can't believe that wasn't given.
Yeah, I suppose in football, it all comes around, doesn't it? And like I was speaking to a big mom, shout out Claire, like
Yeah.
on the phone during the second half, and I was the shat on us. That she didn't quite use that language, but to that effect. Down the years, we've had more than our bad luck, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, maybe we have. And I suppose I thought we definitely should have been given at least one of those two penalties for sure, mate. But yeah, I think we're uh, we're a little bit like the walking wounded at the moment, aren't we? This Villa squad,
Yeah.
and I think Ollie deserves a lot of credit in that regard, a lot of credit because having gone off injured just a few days ago against Leeds to leading the line like he did today, I thought he was a constant problem, sort of pin himself up against that back line like he does well, rolling those defenders, being that physical presence, and I think guys like Yanko, who have come into the Premier League and haven't necessarily played against Ollie too many times before or played against him at all. I can't remember if we started in the game at Villa Park. It feels like an age ago. Um, you see Ollie Watkins and you think he's going to be a striker that's sort of light and he's going to play on the shoulder and in behind. And I always think that centre backs can probably they misinterpret what Ollie's actually capable of. And I think we saw it again today. And I think over as the game went on, they realised that Ollie's going to be much more of a physical threat than perhaps they perceived initially, and that's sort of summarised by the fact that he goes on and plants in that header from a set piece, and I think that's a really important goal for Ollie because we mentioned before the January window how important goals at the right time can be. And for him, there were points where we were going into this game thinking Villa might not have a fit senior striker to then Danny Ings is going, it's now all on Ollie. Unai's nailed his colour to the mast and said, no, Ollie will be our number nine, starts him in this game, and then goes and wins it for Villa. It's just massive. It's just massive. And, we've both been, I think a lot of people have been critical of Ollie Watkins this season, but these moments, you watch them and you think, let's really use that to kick on because now he's not got this thing with Danny Ings where he's got someone constantly looking over his shoulder. He is the guy now and he's got that number nine shirt. And, we speak a lot of how much competition can do for a squad, but I don't think that Ings and Watkins things was ever beneficial for either of them. I never really felt like either of them felt like they had a spot in the team, where they would play, how long they would play. as soon as one didn't score, the other one would usually come in. And it's like, now I think Ollie Watkins can go to bed at night knowing that he's going to be, well, not physically, but I mean, Villa's number 9 in all sense, but the official number that he wears. And hopefully that does him some good, mate. Because I thought he was really good today.
Yeah, I think it kind of makes it a bit difficult to recruit, really. I think now, I mean, look at the bench. The bench is shocking. It just shows
It
how
really
how
is.
how poor we are in terms of depth. Obviously, you've got Diego missing. Obviously, we've got Dean missing. Obviously, we've got McGinn missing. But even if you add them 3 in, there's still 2 goalkeepers on that bench. And obviously, Robin Olsen is someone who no one seems to be fully sold on, which is completely fair and justified. But no, on the point of confidence, you're right, because I think that's what Ollie has always needed. And like, I think you're right. He's so often misprofiled, and I think he is actually by us as well. Because how many times has Ollie? I know we all kind of wince as soon as Emmy hoofs that ball up long or Tyrone does, but how many times when that ball has been played up to big centre halves like Joel Matip, specifically in the Liverpool game, and Ollie Watkins absolutely bullied him. And we've seen all the tweets, mate, recently. Everything, all it is, Ollie with the dumbbells doing a bench press, incline bench. He's hitting the weights. He's
Yeah.
strong, and I think that is a seriously underrated aspect of Ollie's game. And everybody who listens to the podcast knows I'm his biggest fan, but I'm probably his biggest critic at the same time as well, because he's capable of so much. But you absolutely have to give him credit for sort of what he's doing in terms of off the field to better himself in that aspect. And it's another day that goes by, mate, and it's another 90 minutes of football that we have got to sit and enjoy and watch another Boubacar Kamara masterclass. Now, some people may go, well, he wasn't really that active. Is this and is that? I'm going to put the heat map up on screen now, and I will remember this. I promise I'm going to remember it this time. Boubacar Kamara essentially just followed James Ward-Prowse around and sat on him. And it was something interesting. I can't remember the name of the person who commented now, so forgive me, but someone did comment on the preview. Do we stick Booba on JWP? And I read the comment and I kind of thought, well, I mean, there's 2 ways you can do it. You can either have Booba man mark him, which probably gives Dougie a bit more defensive responsibility, which is ideally something you don't really want to have to do. Or you can let one of either Dougie, JJ, maybe Leon, Louise, whoever, just follow James Ward-Prowse and just annoy him. And I'd say if John McGinn was fit for this game, then that'd probably have been his job, literally just to follow James Ward-Prowse every time Southampton were in possession, kind of have a free roll. But we really suffocated him. Obviously, there was the instance where he scored the goal, but to see Booba do that, it honestly, it's the stuff off the ball. It's just that this kind of stuff does go unnoticed. And it's interesting because so many people. There's so many debates that are being started. I saw a tweet from ESPN the other day, and it was like, "Who's the best defensive midfielder in the league right now?" It's a 3-way split, and it's Casemiro, it's Rodri, Casemiro, Rodri, and Partey. And my timeline was just filled with Villa fans going, "Why is Kamara not included in this? Why is he this? Why is he that? Do we not ever learn, guys? We did this whole thing with Jack Grealish. Like,
Yeah.
let's. I'm more than happy for Booba not to get the credit that he deserves from football Twitter, to use sort of air quotes, and for people who actually come to the games and come to Villa Park or come to the stadiums of the teams that they support and actually watch the monster class in person and sort of let Booba quietly go about his business, because
Yeah.
in games like today, he's so important. And the last thing we need is Boubacar being sold upwards. And listen, people talking about him on Twitter isn't going to get him a move to Arsenal. But I mean, we all said it for so long. Jack Grealish is the best player in the world. He's this, he's that. There were genuine conversations about people in like the 2020-21 season being like, Jack Grealish is a top 10 player in the world. And there were like, there's genuine credit to that argument as well. So it's not to diminish that, but it happens time and time again. So instead of us like sitting there and whining at the people at ESPN, who all they do is steal goal tweets, by the way, whine about them not showing Boubacar Kamara any like genuine credit and respect, because what they say doesn't matter. They're just controlling a narrative. And that's the thing with social media. They're going to do what gets the most clicks. And you've accidentally gave them more engagement by replying with Boubacar Kamara. And that's just as someone who works in social, that annoys me.
Yeah.
Because like as well, like he shouldn't be in that conversation. That's what they're doing, the conversation they're trying to set up isn't actually about footballing ability. It's about getting numbers on Twitter. So if we can calm down on that kind of front and just enjoy the monster classes as they come each 90 minutes at a time, that's just my message to Villa fans at the moment, mate. Enjoy him, because we got a bit of flack for the short we did. And I mean, if I do say so myself, it was a brilliant title. Boubacar Kamara is going to break our hearts. Dan, you went on a beautiful you set that up so easy for me. And there were so many comments on it being like, why are you thinking like this? It's because we've been conditioned to, like, and it's because people are talking, people are talking a move up and all this kind of stuff. And people always have, and it's always happened at Aston Villa. So forgive us for being worried about Boubacar leaving. If we could enjoy him quietly, we can enjoy maybe an extra season or two with him.
Yeah. Well, totally, mate. Totally. And like, that's why I feel that Brighton fans must be in a living hell right now, because they've been identified as this club where that they're going to recruit well and their players are going to go and shine. And that 9 times out of 10, these players aren't fugazis, they're legit talents. And you look at the players that have come out of Brighton, even the managers that have come out of Brighton now in Graham Potter and at Chelsea. And it's like, you see the guys like Ben White comes out of Brighton for 50 million. All of a sudden, guys like Moises Caicedo are now 60, 70 million pound players. You've got, now look at what Kara Matoma's doing. And this creates an expectancy within the squad as well. I mean, this is slightly going off on a tangent, but you make a very good point, mate, in that look at Leandro Trossard. He's looking at these guys leaving and thinking, wait, I'm as good as that. Where's my big move? And all of a sudden, you get egos in a dressing room which should never have them, because that's not what Brighton's about. And he forces through a move to Arsenal. And like, that's what I mean, is because we build up these players and there's so much hype around them that of course it inflates an ego. Of course it does. It's only natural. But I mean, as you make a very good point there, mate, in that, like, I do think like maybe Booba's not quite in that conversation. I mean, like the narrative around Casemiro, I think, is genuinely hilarious. It's like he's come to the Premier League and now he's world class. Like, he wasn't.
Yeah,
world class
people have just discovered Casemiro.
Yeah, it's like, guys, he's been world class for like 6 years. Where have you all been? And it's like, wow, Casemiro is good, isn't he? It's like, yeah, I thought the 4 Champions Leagues would have told you that, but apparently not. But I mean, I feel like Villa are going under the radar at the moment, and that's a great
I'm
place
fine
to be.
with that.
You're absolutely right, mate. It's a great place to be. 3 consecutive Premier League away games now that we've won under Unai. We'd only won 3 of our previous 15 on the road. As I now have 3 straight wins against Southampton as well for the first time since the 1990s, which is there's always these damning stats, isn't there, man, when we beat a side that we should beat. And it's like, oh yeah, it's the first time we've beaten them like consecutively since like the 1840s or something. It was like, oh God, are we really that bad? But now Unai is breaking these kind of records, and he's breaking records that are, like, obviously they're mainly in the Villa sphere. I think this week the Unai Emery era has been really good PR for John Gregory. Have you noticed this? It's like always like, so Unai's become the Gregory to win his first 3 away games for Villa. That's now 16 points in 7 games. By John Gregory. So I imagine he's someone that's very much enjoying this, because it's sort of him back at the top of the pantheon of recent Villa managers. But no, I think that whole point is a really good one, mate. And I think the more that you can go under the radar as a club, the better, because as you say, Brighton have been the ultimate under the radar club, and they are no longer. And all of a sudden, that completely changes the shift, not in like internally, but externally as well. And I think it only creates problems. So the longer that we can keep like being underestimated, and maybe this harks back to the point that we were making about Ollie right at the top of the pod, mate. And that, like, people underestimate him, people misprofile him, and if we're misprofiled as a club, great, because we'll keep upsetting people and we'll keep going to places and winning, and that's a good thing.
Absolutely. Just to reiterate that point, because there was a bit of lag there. Unai Emery is the first manager since John Gregory to win his first 3 away games, 16 points in 7 games. As you say, mate, we're living in dreamland right now. I mean, this didn't happen in our lifetime. We weren't born when this happened. So you're right. Keep underestimating Villa. Like, I don't need, like, this is something that I think maybe it's just because of social media. But there is this sort of constant pressure to feel validated. And, as we all do, we, like, our football club means so much to us. We tweet about it. We've got a podcast about it, all this kind of stuff. It's a big part of who we are as people, right? I genuinely couldn't give two shits about what some United fan from Birmingham or what some Liverpool fan from London has to say about my football club. I do not need that validation. I don't need them to tell me that we're good, that we're bad, because I go every week and I know exactly where we are as a football club. And I think that's just maybe, that's something that people have got to sort of come to terms with, because like, why does it matter what they think about us? Like,
Totally.
it doesn't matter. Like, all that matters, like the form that we're in right now, mate, it's frightening. 16 points from 7 games. I don't think we've had this kind of points per game return ever in our lifetime again. Maybe early days in the Martin O'Neill era. But for us as sort of 23, 24-year-olds, we're witnessing greatness right now. This is fantastic. I do not care what bloody Barry from Stoke thinks about Aston Villa. We've just 3 points on the road. Absolutely fantastic, mate. And I mean, as I say, we're witnessing greatness, and it's not without his faults. As I say, JJ didn't have a brilliant game. I put that down to minutes. I thought Moreno had a really impressive debut, but looked a little bit leggy. But again, and I'll show it on screen now. Young and Moreno cover so much ground. The heat map is a joke, and it just goes to show you how important these fullback roles are. And obviously, we've recruited Moreno. We know we saw what he was capable of in that Leeds game. So things can only get better. And again, you just got to give a shout out to Ash for his performance, because that was brilliant. Just the fact that he can constantly put in these sort of 7 out of 10s, 8 out of 10 performances week in, week out. He's 38 next week. That's frightening. That is absolutely frightening what he's doing. So we've got to give him credit. And as well, I think man of the match for me personally, mate, I've got to go with Dougie Luiz.
Yep. Yeah, I thought Dougie had a good game. I thought Emmy was really good. Emmy made some really good saves. There was a moment in the first half where he came off his line to come and clear a ball that had gone over the top. And it kind of went under the radar. I can't remember the striker that he beat to the ball, but he was like he got there so quickly. His starting point was so good. And I was like, wow, that is the difference between Emi Martinez and Robin Olsen. And I know that might sound stupid, but most goalkeepers in the Premier League, shot stopping wise, everything like that, their handling and everything is pretty good. But it's those moments that make you realise Robin Olsen stays on his line there. And Emi came for it and he cleared it and he like smashed it into Rose Ed. And I was like, wow, like that is so good. And that's the culture that the World Cup breeds, and winning it and the confidence that it's given him. And I mean, yeah, like a great example of what we were saying about going under the radar. I mean, Emi Martinez went to the World Cup and all of a sudden it's Juve, Spurs, Atletico, like all coming around this guy. And so like, yeah, man. But no, Dougie was great. Felt a little bit harsh for him getting that yellow, because obviously he's appealing a decision which was then given in Villa's favour. Do you know what I mean? But he got that yellow for that. And like a few people were saying that that's unfair, and I'd probably agree on that point. But no, I thought he was really good. As I said at the top, I thought Ollie was really good, and I don't think we're amazing. I actually felt really sorry for Southampton, because we know how much of it, like having been in that situation ourselves, we know how much of a kick in the balls that result feels. When you've had 2 goals taken off you, you could so easily have got something out of that game, and you come home with nothing. It's really tough. It's really tough. And I like as Villa fans, we've had so many decisions go our way when you're in relegations. Go against the story when you're in relegation fights and it feels crap. And so, yeah, I know how that feels. But no, mate, like, as I said, it's one where, look, Villa aren't lighting up the Premier League right now. Villa aren't tearing teams apart, but we're chugging away. And since Unai came in, League have taken 16 points in that time. It's Aston Villa, it's Arsenal, and it's Man United. And that's pretty incredible. Unai is turning what were performances that lost us games into performances that somehow give us 3 points, especially away from home. And long may it continue, mate.
Absolutely. Just final, wanted to touch on Dougie just a little bit more. 92% pass accuracy. He made 3 key passes. created one big chance, obviously, which he got an assist for. Won 4 of his 7 ground duels, completed 2 successful dribbles, and was just brilliant. It was honestly, that's the kind of performance that you want from him, and that's the kind of performance that Boubacar Kamara facilitates for players like Douglas Luiz. So,
Yeah.
a big shout out to Unai, big shout out to the players for getting it done. We sit comfortably in 11th place with 20 games played on 28 points. The whole narrative around the sort of the boring snooze for, obviously, thankfully for you, mate, you didn't have the displeasure of watching Liverpool versus Chelsea. It was absolutely dreadful, because you was actually watching our very own Lionesses. Can we even call them that? I guess we can. We're
Well,
Lions.
yeah, I think so. We got a line, don't we?
Yeah, yeah, we're like, yeah, we'll call them Lionesses. Like the narrative around that whole Chelsea Liverpool game about it being like a mid-off and El Sacco and all this kind of stuff. You know, they both sit on 29 points, and that puts them, like, I think it's 18 points off the top of the table. And you've got Steven Gerrard with the cheek of saying, you know, Liverpool can still get top 4 on TV. They're only 1 point ahead of us, like, and they've had an absolutely stinking season. So, there was also something no one noticed it. I don't think anyone noticed it, but no one sort of engaged with my tweet about it. Steven Gerrard, he was asked about Cody Gakpo, and he was like, "Yeah, he's a player I'm really familiar with from my time at Aston Villa." And I had to do a double take, and I paused and rewound, and I was like, "We didn't play PSV." And I'm like, is there any links to PSV? Yeah, we sold Anwar El Ghazi, who ironically was the Cody Gakpo replacement, but the United transfer never happened for him in the summer. And I play it again, and he's almost inferred that he's a player that Aston Villa considered buying. Aston Villa could have ended up with Cody Gakpo. I find that remarkable.
Well, he so nearly went to. I remember it was really close to Southampton as well. The
Yeah.
season before last, really close to Southampton, and so yeah. I mean, I just I'll talk about the WSL game at the very end, but I just wanted to talk about Danjuma. This is weird.
Ooh, it is
This
weird.
is weird. This is really weird. So that almost every single Premier League club was interested in Danjuma, and according to Fabrizio, he's just about to go to Everton on a loan for 6 months with no view to buy. So all of a sudden, he's gone from being this prized asset to being something that only the Premier League, as it now stands, the Premier League's bottom club wanted to take a gamble on, and they've not even considered him. It's just a 6-month loan. This is bizarre, mate. That is odd.
It doesn't seem right, does it? His agent is doing wonders. And obviously, Unai spoke about it in his presser, right? You know, he said that he's a great player, but we have players of that. I went very Bristol then. Oh my God. We have players of that caliber and that sort of profile at the club, obviously referring to Leon Bailey. Now, people who've watched the Transfer Rumor episodes where we've spoken about him would know that I don't think either of us were incredibly sort of set on this deal. Like, if it happened, we were going to be happy about it. But it wasn't one that we felt was going to be a sort of like the major surgery that is perhaps needed in some areas of the squad.
Yeah.
So for him to go to Everton after also being in France and speaking to clubs there, and like, if you're speaking to clubs in France, I mean, we know he's not talking to Paris Saint-Germain. You know, the other sort of big options you've got are Lyon, who I think are sat in like 9th. Monaco, I mean, they don't really spend that kind of cash, and obviously now, as you say, mate, it's a loan. It seems quite weird. If Unai wanted him, he would have been playing today already. Like, this would have been the first.
Yeah,
this would have been the
totally.
easiest deal to hash out. So
Totally.
I think, if anything, that just vindicates how we felt about this transfer before.
Yeah, he's the problem is like I was saying this to my mate. He's like, he's a sexy player, and he comes from Spain, scored a lot of goals. Obviously, scored against Bayern and Juve in the Champions League last season. I'm like, but he's not what we need. He's not what we need. In the same way that Deulofeu is a sexy player, but realistically, he's probably not what we need. We really need an out and out number 9, and I think it's really telling that we haven't actioned on that deal. But yeah, I mean, I know Kike Setien is not like massively keen on Danjuma, and so that's why he's sort of letting him go on loan. But like, why he's coming back in 6 months, like, beyond me. But yes, just wanted to give that a couple of minutes because I thought that was odd. But yeah, mate, 2 Villa games in one day for me. That's too stressful. I'll never do that again. But nah, Carl Ward's tricky villains, mate. We were class. Honestly, it's pretty shameful of me. That's the first time I've been to see the Villa women play this season. And obviously, I live in Manchester, so I went over to see them away at City, and it was £9 to get a ticket. It was nine
Amazing.
quid to get in. You get unlimited free drinks with that at City, so you can show your match ticket. You can go and get as many hot cold drinks as you want. And I paid £9. Villa were bloody great, by the way. Kenza Dali is an absolute baller. Maz Pacheco was great. It was a
Unreal.
really, really evenly matched game. Villa now sit behind City. I think we're comfortably the best of the rest outside of the top four in the WSL. We're making our own sort of really quiet European push over there. Carla Ward, she's staying. Daly's the top scorer in the WSL. She didn't score today. And I was just like, you know what? I was like, honestly, I'd advise to go down there and take in a bit of that because it's such a feel good factor around that team. And you know what? With the win that the boys picked up today, feels like a good bloody time for this football club, man. And that's just how I feel like coming away from these. Obviously, it was a good draw against City for the women, and then we obviously win that game, and it's like I don't want to get carried away, but maybe, just maybe, it's a good time to be a Villa fan.
I think you're right, mate. I think you're right. I think we've been saying it for a while. We feel like we probably need to. We feel a bit responsible to sort of shine a bit of a light or a better light on the women's game and on Villa specifically. And so maybe there's some coverage in that we can do because obviously we have an audience. We have a Villa audience. It's all Villa, whether it's men or women or whatever. So it's I almost went on some form of Michael Scott thing there about like gender not mattering, like but no, I mean like Villa women are flying, so it's a really exciting team that's being built, and again they're quietly going about their business though. Like I
Yeah,
feel like
yeah, for
people are
sure.
seriously sleeping on Villa women as they are with the men's team, so it's a fantastic place to be right now to be a Villa fan, mate. You're absolutely right, and hopefully again this is the start of something really exciting, some really exciting years for both teams because boy, like a lot of money has been spent on both sides of both male and
Yes.
female. Um,
Yeah.
so it's about time we saw the benefits of that.
Yeah,
So yeah,
totally.
guys, if you haven't already and you enjoyed this podcast, mate, you should make sure you subscribe, hit the like button as well, and comment your thoughts below on the game. Let us know who your man of the match should be. If you don't know as well, we are on TikTok and Instagram. On TikTok, it's at Heart of the Holt. On Instagram, it's at Villa Pod. There will be clips from this podcast and every podcast ever on them socials. Engage with the shorts. You guys are loving the shorts, and I mean we've got like just over a week until the deadline for the transfer window. So Dan and I will be about. Maybe we do a live stream one night, Dan.
Yeah,
Um,
that sounds good. Yeah, yeah,
I
I
feel like
like
we should
that.
we could do that. We could get involved with you guys. That way, it's been a while since we live stream. I think Callum Chambers was the last time we did a live stream when that deal got announced
Oh my
out of
God.
nowhere.
Is
So
that a year?
we're coming on a year, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, blimey.
Um, so yeah, we're probably due a live stream.
Yep,
But
I'd
yeah,
agree.
as I say, guys, hit a like, comment your thoughts below, and subscribe for more. Up the Villa.